Splitting your clock. These are terms that you may or may not have heard yet, but chances are, if you're here, you've heard the term. Want to know more? Stick around and let's talk about it. Splitting your clock. Splitting your logs. Split logs. Should you do it? When should you do it? Should you even worry about it? Well, let me tell you a few things about split logging. First of all, they're always changing the regulations, okay? And so that complicates the ability to really hone in your skills on split logging and what you need to do. New regulations, as a matter of fact, will probably be coming out soon. And from what I've seen of them, they're going to be more complicated and more confusing than anything. And so they may not be worth the effort that I feel the regulators are putting into them, honestly. But for background on it, it used to be that we only had to take an 8-hour break instead of a 10-hour break. And that 8-hour break, we could split pretty much any way we want, as long as at least both periods had to have more than 2 hours. So you could split it 2-6, you could split it 3-5, you could split it 4-4. But that hasn't been the case in a long time now. But for the past few years, it's been an 8-2 split that you could do, which has been, fairly easy, actually. But still, a lot of people don't understand it. And that in and of itself is the number one thing that I need to tell you about split logging. The top 3 things you need to know are this. First of all, if you don't fully understand it, don't do it, okay? Many drivers who have been driving for years don't really understand it fully. So if you're new to driving, just don't do it. Unless you had a good trainer that knew how to do it and taught you how to do it properly, just stay away from it. In fact, in your first year, probably stay away from it, period. Too many people make mistakes on it. And as a result, most companies anymore have a policy of not even allowing it. But that said, if you do it, they won't generally say anything unless you screw up. If you screw up, then it's enough to get you fired, because if you screw up your split logging, chances are you broke the law, or you were late for an appointment. Okay? Because if you mess it up, there's no fixing it until after you finished out a full, if you were planning on doing a 2 and then all of a sudden you realize that you screwed it up and now you've got to do an 8, that could put you 6 hours behind on what you were planning on doing. Or if you screwed up real bad and now you've got to do a full 10, well, that's a little bit further back. But so chances are good that you could have broke a law, you're late for your appointment, and ultimately they say you broke company policy. So you're fired. Now, that could happen. Most of the time, you're just going to get a slap on the hand and maybe cut back on miles for a week or 2. But ultimately, yeah, if you don't fully understand split logging techniques, don't do it. Also, number 2, it's best not to do it more than a couple of times in a row. Doing it more than that before doing a full 10-hour break can get you confused and end up making you lose time, because you thought that you were supposed to do an 8 now and it was really another 2 that you're supposed to do, or you thought, well, I can do a 2 now, but it was actually an 8, and before you know it, you're in trouble. Okay, you're in trouble on your time, you're late on loads. So best not to do it more than a couple times in a row. And always, number 3, the third thing that you got to know about split logging is that if you do 2 8s in a row, one of them only counts for 2 hours. So chances are good you'll be having to make it a 10. So all that said, if the number 2 and 3 thing that I just gave you confused you, you need to really study that split logging before you try it. Hopefully your trainer wasn't a rookie and was able to help you learn this technique and the techniques necessary for doing a split log, so that you can use it in a pinch. If not, like I said before, if you don't understand it fully, don't use it. Okay? So let's talk about what splitting your clock or doing a split log can do to help you. First of all, it can help you with your delivery and pickup time. Okay. Second, it can help you with your customer wait time. And thirdly, it can help you avoid heavy traffic. Okay. And, maybe you haven't been driving very long and you don't understand how it can help in those places. Chances are good, once again, if you don't understand how it can help you in those places, you shouldn't be split logging. Okay. But that said, let me give you a basic example, a very basic example of how split logging can help. Let's say you shut down for let's say you shut down for a 10-hour break. Okay. And you are at a distance from the customer where you could be there in, let's say an hour and a half. Okay. So let's say you shut down at 6 p.m. Okay. And you need to be at your customer at 6 a.m. Okay. Now you shut down at 6 p.m. Let's say you're tired. Okay. So you want to just go ahead and cash it out, go to bed. Okay. So as soon as you get to where you're parking, you jump in the bunk, you go to sleep. Okay, well, what generally happens in that case, most of us can't sleep more than 6 or 7 hours. Okay, so you got there at 6, you did your post trip and everything. Let's say you're in bed at 6:30 and, by 2 a.m., you're wide awake. Okay. At that point, it's 2 a.m. You're an hour and a half away from your customer. If you wait until 4 a.m. to pull out, or 4:15 because your post trip was done at 6:15 p.m., if you wait till the 10-hour break is up at 4:15 and you pull out, chances are good if you're around a major city, you're going to have traffic to deal with, and there might be some wrecks, which could make you late for your 6 a.m. appointment. Okay, so you're awake before 2, wide awake, ready to go. What do? Do you sit there and just waste time? I wouldn't. Okay, what I would do is say, I've got 8 hours in. Okay, now let's say the day before I only drove a total of 7 hours. Okay, and I worked for a total of 3 hours. Okay, so 7 and 3, that's 10 hours on my 14-hour clock. Okay, now by shutting down for 8, I still have everything that I had left before I shut down for that 8. Everything I had left on that 14, I still have left, which means at 2 a.m. or 2:15 a.m., when my 8-hour sleeper berth break is over, I could go ahead and go on into the customer. Okay, hour and a half away. So 2:15 to 2:30 is your pre-trip. You're going to get at the customer at 4 a.m. well before traffic starts up. Okay, so you're going to get there at 4. Your appointment's at 6 a.m. You now have 2 hours that you can break there at the customer before your appointment time. Okay, now whether you take a nap or whether you let the guard know, hey, I'm here, I'm going to walk down here to Hardee's and grab a bite of breakfast, whatever, okay? You take a 2-hour break, then you log in at 6 a.m., check in with your customer, and go from there, okay? Now, because you've done an 8 and then a 2, you've only used an hour and a half, you still have 9.5 hours drive time available for your day, okay? So that's a good way to use that split log. But once you've used that 9.5 hours that day, you need to shut down and do what? Either another 8 or a 10. If you do an 8, you're only going to gain back what you used between your previous 8 and 2. Okay. So obviously it starts to get complicated at that point. But using it the one time, and then your next break, do a 10-hour break, then you don't have to worry about it, okay? You don't have to keep doing 8 and 2s. As a matter of fact, it's a bad idea generally to continuously do 8 and 2s back to back. Like I said before, you should never use it more than twice in a row, or you could get confused. And again, if you don't understand it at all, don't use it at all, because it can hurt you in the long run, okay? So what I want you to take away from this today is, first of all, if you don't get it, don't use it. Second of all, it can be a very useful tool. But before you use it, you best study it and know it. And that's all for today's video. Between now and next time, you keep that shiny side up, keep that dirty side down, and we'll catch you on the flip-flop.